这是最后一场比赛了嘛，然后我们觉得我们现在的队伍状态不太好嘛，所以我们需要一场胜利来找回我们的状态嘛。
赢了之前的电商大战，心情挺好的，因为我们把命运把握在了自己的手里。
这边发条魔力要反打 ，Loken 跳起来了，两发子弹直接打掉辅助，发条魔力大招拉回来，小鱼狼天呐，直接进泉水里面打出4杀。
일단 도인비 선수랑 플레이리스 선수는 되게 로밍 같은 걸 좋아하는 편이라서 저희가 그걸 되게 중요시하면 될 것 같고 그리고 2대2에서는 저희가 이길 자신 있을 것 같아요.
雅高的话，他最近选的英雄也是辅助型的这种英雄嘛，他们也喜欢4保1嘛，我们也很喜欢4保1嘛，但是我们的 AD 比他们的 AD 强。
远处有一个完美谢幕，但是没有办法支援到队友了。司马贼疯狂的输出，最后一剑终结性命，一剑封喉啊！
这是常规赛最后一场嘛，所以我们会全力以赴打这一场的比赛。
因为这是我第一次打 LPL， 所以我非常渴望能进季后赛，想带领我的队友拿到更好的成绩。
It is the final day of the East Conference here in the LPL 2018 spring. And while the house might not be packed, you can bet that everybody is going to have their eyes on this match, as it is going to decide the final playoff spot in the East Conference, as Jingdong clash with Rogue Warriors trying to get revenge. Doinby, previously of Team Jingdong, he already claimed revenge earlier in the split, but now not only do they play against their former teammate, but they play against the gatekeepers of Rogue Warriors. Welcome to the LPL, everyone. My name is Dom Romer. This is Barento Raz Mohammed. No funny games today, no funny business, because this is a serious day, Raz.
Yep, but I'm already offended.
Are
you
you?
lied to us. I took a look down there. The house is
it is
pretty
a full
damn
house.
packed. Yes, take a look.
Turn
down
around
there.
for 10 minutes and the whole thing just changes.
So everyone's
it
here
absolutely is.
for one reason. Rogue Warriors versus Jingdong, the decider for playoffs. Rogue Warriors, of course, they want to keep in top form. We saw the video piece coming into this one. It means a lot to them, even though they've locked in for second place. And if they're going to be the gatekeepers to Jingdong in their eyes.
And of course, this is still an emotional matchup between these two teams. Again, Doinby, former member of Team Jingdong just last split. So perhaps those emotions could still be running high. Let's take a look at the standings so we can show you just how close the standings are. Currently, Jingdong and Suning are at 9 and 9. Suning have already played their game against Invictus Gaming and lost, leaving us to the final hurdle for JD. If they lose here, Suning has the point lead and will advance into playoffs. Jingdong need to win this series. It can be a 2-0, it can be a 2-1, doesn't matter how, but it has to happen.
Yes, so don't let the standings here deceive you, because Suning come into this with the upper hand of, you know, Jingdong having to take the second place team in the league. If Jingdong can do it, doesn't matter how dirty, how clean it is, if they come out of this one with the win, then they find themselves into the playoffs.
And that's going to be our first matchup happening in just a few minutes. Later today, we get the chance to check out RNG versus TOP Sports Gaming. Uzi looking absolutely on fire. And of course, if you're interested in checking out the LGD IG matchup, you can head on over to lpl.qq.com to find out more and find all of our other streaming sites to find that information. But for us, if we get the opportunity, we might cover that match as bonus footage at the end of the day. Depends on how quickly the set goes, because again, we sell those tickets for the Hangzhou Arena, so the fans there get to see it live.
Yeah, and it's all up to TOP.
It is.
How well they can play today, because RNG is at another level currently. If TOP can come into this one looking at it, I would say decently, then people will get denied that unless if they go in towards the, I guess, the Chinese footage.
Yeah, and of course that's going to be happening later today. Raz, we got to come back to it. Jingdong, Rogue Warriors.
All right.
I am so excited for this, because not only is it the rivalry between these two teams, but Rogue Warriors, they're on a bit of a slump right now. If ever there was a time for Jingdong to take a win, this is it.
Yes, you would think so, because, of course, losing their last 3 series in the fashion which they've done, haven't been able to take a game versus IG, Suning Gaming, RNG, and the way they lost IG too. Sure, IG is the top team in the league right now, but of course, Flawless coming out and losing his Lee Sin game was flawless on that one, 5-0, but now it's 5-1 off that just because. And you can see it impact him emotionally.
Yes.
Of course. all of these team members, every single one of them in Rogue Warriors, really feeling the hit on that one. That's why they feel like today is their redemption day, the only game that they get a chance to look good going into playoffs.
Yeah, and we know that Rogue Warriors is an emotional team. They've got Doinby at their heart and center. We've seen him in videos time and time and again, yelling and jumping out of his chair and crying on wins. And emotions can be double-edged swords. If they come into this with a downward mentality, that could end up hurting them.
That's why I feel like this is the first real test for Rogue Warriors when they find themselves in a slump. Because an emotional team, when they find themselves winning games after games and a winning streak, of course you're on that high, you have that momentum, you can ride it, and that's what they've done during this regular season. But when you find yourself in this slump, the slump that they're currently riding on, they need to be able to pick themselves back up. That's a test to their own, I would say, staff, and also on the players themselves to find that resolve to come back into it. So this is going to be the set that's important for them, emotionally speaking, going into playoffs, because they won't be able to get some time to play until, I'd say, second phase of playoffs. So this is going to be a good showcase for their fans.
And of course, contrast that with Jingdong on the other side, and they are absolutely riding an emotional high over their win against Suning earlier this week. Loken particularly was hooting and hollering in his chair every time he got a kill, breaking out the old classic Jinx in that matchup.
Literally got excited.
He did.
I actually had no way to put that out unless if it was a pun. So I mean, I apologize, but honestly, that was a great series for them. It was one of those moments where Suning brought out their protection composition around Fury. It was a bottom lane centric, bottom lane focused game series, really.
Yeah.
And they didn't really evolve. It was Jingdong that evolved.
Yeah.
It was Jingdong that found themselves that Jinx hypercarry scaling composition. We haven't seen Loken for such a long time. And of course, if you throw up the stats, there's a reason for that, because Loken came in and he showed up incredibly.
Of course. Yeah, playing just before Loken was RD, and taking a look at these stats, RD filled a need that Jingdong had during week 7, week 8, week 9, but then when it came down to week 10, when it came down to actually perform in the final matchups, it was Loken who stepped up. Look at that KDA, look at that kill percentage.
Yeah, and the kill participation, of course, is important here, because that's the new focus, it would seem, when it comes to Jingdong, is that bottom lane centric style.
Yeah.
If it's not the Jinx, then I wonder, it could be the Varus, sure. I don't necessarily expect that. I want to see what Loken can showcase here today, because they're going up against a team that has played bottom lane centric the entire season. So I want to see what he can do.
Yeah, not just a specific team that has played bottom lane centric, SMLZ that is bottom lane centric. He broke out the first Kai'Sa in the LPL. He's been having stellar performances time and again. Rogue Warriors, they've also shown that when they were still riding their emotional high and taking wins left and right to get to second place, the way they did that was through mid-game team fights, late-game team fights that focused on SMLZ. Of course, that is excluding their 20-minute snowball victories. If we discount those facts and compare the two teams' styles, it looks like it's going to be a clash in that bottom lane.
Yeah, that's because later on in the game, when they can find their team fights, get that ball rolling, the composition works soundly. It's the bridge, that's that early game bridge that makes it work. And of course, the video piece you saw, the 2v2 in the mid lane, is the reason for that. Of course, Flawless is a major early game bridge for them, and if you can work with Doinby to get himself roaming to the bottom side of the map, that can start the catalyst for Rogue Warriors' victory. It has to be Jingdong, it has to be Clit and Yagao that stop that train.
And this is where we look to Yagao taking leadership in his team, exactly as we heard in that video. He's the new mid laner. He is Doinby's replacement for JD, playing against Doinby. He's going to have to keep track of Flawless, one of the best junglers in the league. His Lee Sin was undefeated until their stall against IG.
And to kind of bounce back onto the Yagao point, it's funny because at the beginning of the split, Yagao tried to etch the difference between him and Doinby, but it feels like they are so similar. Look into Jingdong's lineups, of course. Zoom in the top lane, Clit in the jungle, Yagao running out the mid lane, and of course the bottom side of the map, Loken and Lumao.
And that stylistic matchup perhaps is why he fits so well with Jingdong. They don't have to change their style so much because Yagao and Doinby follow a similar style. But here's Doinby and his new team, Mouse, Flawless, Doinby, SMLZ, and Killua.
So that's why pick and ban is going to be incredibly important. I do not believe Galio is going to be able to come out of this one alive, because if it does, it's going to be a major priority to both Doinby and, of course, Yagao. Karma is another one. Don't know if Yagao particularly wants to pick that one up. I think right now Zoe is a higher priority for him, but Karma would be a larger priority for Doinby, because if Doinby doesn't have the Galio, you can go towards the Karma, the Lulu as well. So he has a lot of picks that he can go towards it, but you have to expect that we might see something new for them to prepare for something here specifically tonight.
Especially considering this is our Rogue Warriors' last set going into playoffs.
Yes.
So do they stick to a new style? Do they try something new? We're going to find out in this game. Raz, I got to know, who are you rooting for? I know what my heart is telling me, and I know what my head is telling me, but you're the analyst.
I'm only going to follow my head here. I was going to say Rogue Warriors take the victory tonight. They have a lot to prove, and I think this one, they're taking this one seriously.
All right, well, we'll see if that's going to be the case. It's now time for our casters to get us into Game 1 for the final playoff spot.
接下来我们和 RW 的比赛对我们来说至关重要，因为赢了这一把，我们就可以进入季后赛；输了的话，我们就要告别这个赛季了。上次我们因为经验不足，我们的配合也不是很好，所以导致输给了 RW。不过这一次我们磨合了更久，我们的团队更加有配合了，所以我相信我们这一次一定能赢下 RW。
I mean, we constantly dub Rogue Warriors as the team that is seeking revenge in the LPL, but it seems like this time around, JDG are back to seek their own. After losing to Rogue Warriors the first time around, now it's in their hands. They beat Suning, now they have to take a victory here against Rogue Warriors to qualify for playoffs.
Jingdong control their own destiny. The key is in their own hands. Can they actually cause the upset here today against a team that is on the downward spiral as well? Rogue Warriors, they have a lot to prove for themselves. It's all been mentioned already, but don't forget that this isn't just a battle for playoffs. This is Jingdong taking on their former mid laner, someone that they should know and someone that they really want to beat, especially when he got the upper hand the last time they met.
And if you cast your mind back to the last time these two teams faced, it was a struggle at best for JDG to for Rogue Warriors to pick up the victory over JDG, because for most of the match, JDG were winning, not only in the games but in the series as well, and it took a lot of effort from SMLZ as well as Doinby to pull that one back for their team and get the revenge that he was seeking in that mid lane. Now it's do or die for JDG. Can Rogue Warriors shut them down one more time? Heading into picks and bans for game number 1. Rise, Tom Kench, as well as Karma can be taken away by JDG. RW, they're going to take away Swain, Galio, and Camille.
Yeah, a couple of things to note here is that the Swain was a very prolific pick for Zoom, and I like that it's been banned. The Galio taken away from Yagao in particular, and the Karma removed from Doinby. So a lot of targeted bans to be seen at the moment. And unfortunately, with all of the target bans available, we have ourselves a Xayah first pick.
Xayah locked in for JDG instantly. Going to be a Caitlyn lock-in coming out for Rogue Warriors with Olaf in the jungle for Flawless.
Yeah, the Olaf pick's definitely really good for Flawless. Loves himself a bit of tempo, and something that you have to look towards and explore in the rest of this pick and ban phase is how do Rogue Warriors actually empower Mouse, and do they empower Mouse at all? Because he was a major weakness last time these teams played. Well, last time Rogue Warriors played, and he was actually a big part of why they lost. So we have to continue to watch what he gets as the draft continues.
Keep track of the top lane matchup between Zoom and Mouse. We already heard from Zoom. Said that he need to pick a victory here today. He might be playing on in the top lanes. That's the final lock in the first draft phase for JDG. Rakan is going to be their supportive choice for Lumao.
Lots of engage from Jingdong so far. Actually, a decent amount of damage for just the Xayah with the Rakan to supplement that fact. And this is expected from Rogue Warriors, acknowledging that the Xayah Rakan is there. You pick the Caitlyn Morgana, you play your 2v2. Such is the matchup right now. You have to look past that fact, of course. That is just the bottom lanes. You've got a jungler, you've got a top laner locked in for JD and Rogue Warriors respectively. And into the second ban phase, a lot of focus from Rogue Warriors was towards the top lane with their first 3 bans, but they still go back towards mid lane. They want to enable Doinby.
Banning out your girls is here. Could see a Zoe ban thrown his way. He's been playing the champion since it's been buffed slightly heading into patch 8.5. And with that patch 8.5 means that we don't have the nerfs to Rakan just yet. Still very strong in the synergy with his W with Xayah at level 1.
Yeah.
Or early into the matches at least.
It's possible that the Zoe is banned here. Another mid laner is always a place that you could look towards and could focus. You've got the potential of an Orianna even, something that he has played in the last couple of sets to protect and empower Loken even further. And on the opposite side, you're looking at perhaps even a Gangplank. If you want to get rid of all of the good champions that Mouse has been performing well on, Gangplank is the other top laner.
But it said they throw focus into the jungle. Zac is going to be the ban from Rogue Warriors. Sejuani still left up and available, the priority tank in the jungle at the moment.
Yeah. They get the first pick of the second pick phase, but of course with the Olaf already locked in, there's no real opportunity for them to commit to the Sejuani. So the Zac ban is a curious one. It's the extra range, I think, that a Zac can provide, the ability to go forwards and have the magic damage to hit multiple targets. The Morgana spell shield is very good into a Sejuani because it is a single target with the stun. So perhaps that's why.
Maybe not adding on to the bouncy castle that on as well as Rakan already provided to the team. Rogue Warriors do pick up Sion as their first pick. You were talking about Gangplank earlier. That's banned out by JDG in the final ban. Now they have to show the hand, tell us who is going to be heading into the mid lane and the jungle for JDG.
Trundle is that standard matchup at the moment into Olaf. Does very well in navigating the jungle, dueling as well. It's decently nice for him, usually in the precision tree. They try and actually have those combats. For the mid laner here of JD, they've got themselves one damage carry threat. Clit is going to usually be supportive with his itemization choices. Something that deals damage would be preferred in this middle lane. I mentioned the Orianna earlier, would not be surprised.
Going to get locked in here for Yakal. Doesn't know what he's going up against just yet. Could be Sion in the mid lane for Doinby. It could be the final pick that they throw to the mid lane as well.
This is something we have seen from Rogue Warriors recently, picking up the Cassiopeia. There's still a potential for the Victor or something of the likes here in the middle lane for Rogue Warriors. You cast your mind to even Kassadin if it comes to it for Doinby. He can carry. He's just been choosing to empower his AD carry for the most part. But the last time that we saw a Cassiopeia, he did carry the game. He did put the team on his back and do a lot of work with Flawless, roaming as the 2v2 warband.
That's what he's picked up as his mid laner of choice going into Yakal's Orianna for game number 1. Rogue Warriors have moved away from their supportive mid lane champions, especially with a lot of teams banning out the Karma against Doinby in particular. But as you mentioned, he's not been afraid to carry games for the team, and he's picked up a carry in this matchup.
He's not afraid this time around. He's not afraid to go against his former team and show them who is still the boss, and show that Rogue Warriors have got form coming into playoffs, and that is what matters the most here for RW. For Jingdong, it's about getting their place into playoffs. They've drafted themselves a very strong team fighting composition. They've got a lot of protection around their AD carry, Loken, once again. But he is a shorter ranged AD this time, and there is a lot of pick on the opposing side to take him down. It's a much more delicate affair for Jingdong through the mid-game.
But almost very standard drafts for the two teams. Where there's Zaya Rakan, you'd expect a Caitlyn Morgana to go up against that matchup. Where there's an Olaf, you'd normally see a Trundle to go up against that match as well.
Yeah. The interesting thing here, though, Fish, I think above all else, for the remnants of the draft, was the priority towards mid lane. As usually, you would actually say that Orianna does beat Cassiopeia in the matchup. For the most part, having the command dissonance slows her down, even if the Q connects enough that she'll never really get a full rotation of the twin fangs off on you. And that could be the place where the difference is realistically made. And that's where you have to look at the mid-jungle duos for both teams here. Does one go towards mid lane? Does one pressure? And can the Cassiopeia actually keep up even in the 1v1 in that mid lane?
Well, we know that JDG like to play around their mid-jungle duo. Clement talks about all the time how they have certain strategies in play. Whereas for Rogue Warriors, commonly focusing on the bottom lane. Even if they're not buffing up SMLZ in late game team fights, they're trying to see if they can rotate Flawless and Doinby into the bottom lane, get them an advantage there. And teams have often attacked that.
That is the contrast we have to explore here.
And let's see what they're going to be able to do in game number 1. It's do or die for JDG. Rogue Warriors going to try and seek revenge once again. Let's get on to Summoner's Rift for game number 1.
Any minute now, he's going to scream. I don't want to scare you all, but he's loud. He's so loud.
It's the one against the many in that crowd today.
I feel like they were trying to fight back. They found the loudest Rogue Warriors fan possible to scream back at him. There's 2 battles right now. There's one on the Rift, there is one off the Rift, but we are on it for our first game.
First match, as we mentioned, a win in this series for Jingdong will put them into playoffs. Rogue Warriors, the points don't matter at the moment. They're locked in a second place in their conference. But again, it's all about can Doinby one-up his former team once again.
The big thing we have to explore past the mid lane, like we mentioned just before the game started, is actually the bottom lane. Last time we saw Jingdong beat Suning Gaming in the e-commerce wars that they were successful with a 2-1 victory in. The difference maker there was Loken. He played the Jinx, he hard carried for his team, they set him up to carry, but imagine doing that against Rogue Warriors. You know, imagine focusing on the bottom lane when it's SMLZ and Kahlua, and they can fight back so hard.
Kahlua took W at level 1, so SMLZ are going to take a lot of damage for this. JDG wait patiently inside the bush and are able to force SMLZ back, knock him down quite low, but they don't get any summoners for their troubles.
They do play the level 1 of this lane out incredibly well. They get themselves close, they close the distance, and they get the knock-up, which means that SMLZ does lose most of his health, and that continues.
Oh, you're saying that the bottom lane was going to be the focus. Kahlua already forced the flash away, a heal being burnt by SMLZ as well.
Yeah, the tragedy for Jingdong is that the Ignite was used just before onto SMLZ. It keeps him at half health. Kahlua has got 3 potions, so he will be perfectly fine in that lane once they start to get the levels. But they have been bodied, they have been controlled, and they are being kept down and contained down here.
Which is important for Zaya Rakan, because eventually this lane will start to shift. Caitlyn and Morgana will start to push back in. Adaptations coming out every single time we see this matchup. And a common thing with this 2-on-2 bottom lane now is that the junglers go for no leash when they start. Olaf got no leash in the start. Trundle started top side of the map. Olaf started on the bottom side of the map.
As you would expect with a Zaya Rakan wanting to have lane priority, and I do admit the adaptation from the Olaf teams have been very good to watch, acknowledging that he doesn't need a full leash, it only accelerates his clear speed. But Olaf, also being low health, is perfectly happy to clear doing that exact same thing. So he has found himself in a decent position here, Flawless, to actually full clear his jungle and then go back to base or look for a gank on the top side of the map if he would like.
And it seems so far Kliz's just trying to track him. He puts a ward down inside of his blue buff of the jungle. Doesn't get any information for it, but we'll be able to spot him out later on. Both junglers are just kind of clearing everything out and checking with the rest of the lanes. Mid lane has just been pushing back and forth between Doinby as well as Yakao. Top lane has been in favor of Mouse. We get to check in with Cliv. We've seen Trundle Jungle cropping up internationally, now being played in the LPL as well. As you mentioned, should go towards more supportive items later on.
Yeah, usually builds the Zeke's Convergence. Doinby currently pressuring in the mid lane, but he also has the Precision Keystone, as you would once again expect. Press the attack. Trundle having an attack reset with his Q does help a lot for actually getting that proc off and increasing his damage. So early game strength, something that helps him match Flawless when it comes to jungle dueling.
I want to touch on that jungle matchup later on, but we already see Doinby being pushed back here. Sent back to base, no unsealed spellbook. Yakao has been really strong for JDG, the replacement for Doinby for JDG this season.
Yeah, he's really stepped up to the plate on champions like LeBlanc, even having the assassins there. We very rarely get to see him play in Orianna. He's only just recently started to pick that one up, working around the Jinx compositions, but still looks decent. Has shown the capabilities to carry and put the team on his back if necessary. And you're going to have to continue to watch that today if he feels that need. If he's against Doinby, perhaps it's nerves that could slip up and cause problems for him. There is a lot for him as an individual to prove in this set.
Certainly is. He's very well known for his Zoe play at the start of this split of the LPL. Solidified himself as one of the top mid laners in the LPL. Both junglers have also gone back to base now. We talk about this all the time. When there's Olaf, you see Trundle picked up. And it's almost been to deny Olaf from diving deep into the back lines of his Ragnarok.
How to do, but he doesn't need to dive too deep. He's choosing to look towards the bottom lane for exactly that, however, as Jingdong will not even place a ward. They're just going to face check. If Flawless was there, that was some free damage. They're actually warding themselves for the Drake, something that an Olaf can do very early into the game. I like the respect, actually, from JD.
Even cancels this first control board to place one down at the dragon itself. So Olaf can take camps pretty fast.
Well, look at Yagao as well. Knowing full well the control ward's there, he's got control of the mid lane. Once again, we mentioned this, that Orianna tends to handle the Cassiopean lane reasonably well.
Yep.
Usually they'll find themselves with perhaps a CS advantage, or at least force more recalls out of their opponent. Doinby is one of those members of the team that will just recall. He won't lose CS, he'll push for CS, he'll lose health, and then he'll recall, come back and continue to do the exact same thing. Keeps himself even if not ahead in farm by doing that, but it also removes him from the map for an extended period of time. That's where the control ward can be cleared at the Drake, but because he's walked back, he's actually found an opportunity to work with Flawless to top lane. Zoom is actually in a lot of trouble if he stays.
He's pushed back against Mouse in a prolonged lane here. Doinby's able to rotate up, charges away, flashes out as well. Mouse, but not there.
Oh,
Doinby not press his buttons in the right order. Is it going to matter though? He's tanking up the turret. Zoom throws out the ultimate. Trying to class back on top of Doinby. Gets some good damage down there. Just some mechanical mistakes from the Rogue Warriors mid laner.
There's a big mechanical misplay though from him. Both summoner spells gone, the ultimate used, no control of mid lane, and ultimately Yagao just sits there and farms, gets an experience leader. Now Jingdong, they respond in the bottom lane.
Yep, there's already 3 members pushing in on this bottom lane. Yakao's rotating around. He has been in fog of war the entire time. Rogue Warriors have no idea where Orianna is. They can only speculate.
The speculations aren't that he's bottom lane though. The way SMLZ has positioned himself is not respecting an Orianna ball. They didn't know where he was. They just assumed that he's not here. He was nearby, so that could have been dangerous. But with the blue buff spawning as well, Flawless. I mean, they've got even more information that the Orianna may well have been down there. Not to be seen though, he reveals himself mid lane.
Goes back to the mid lane, going back to that matchup. We should see the lane start to reset once again. But going back to that play top side map, that's something new from Rogue Warriors. Mouse has been a big facilitator for the team. And constantly we see them throw Doinby and Flawless into the bottom lane, try and get their bottom lane ahead or counter the pressure that's put out by the opposite team. This time round, rotating early towards the top side of the map, trying to see if they can get Mouse a lead ahead of Zoom.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's actually about getting Mouse a lead. It's about giving Doinby a lead. Flawless also looking for some pressure in the mid lane. And once again, it's the Cassiopeia. The last time we saw him play this, they try and give him an advantage. And yeah, they do roam towards the bottom lane usually, but it's not to say that the goal is ultimately SMLZ getting ahead in this one. It's for both of them. So you get Doinby snowballing, you get control of top lane. You don't need to get him in a massive point of power, but when a tank is slightly ahead of another tank, they push. And because they have the push, they're free to teleport down a bottom lane, and that is the RW special.
That's Mouse as well. This is a player that, time to time, teams said this is someone you can exploit in the top lane, but he's shown on Rogue Warriors, he can be a facilitator, he can be a carry, and he doesn't need that many resources to do either of those two things.
Except for the last 3 sets where they've lost all of them with him being destroyed.
For the last 3 sets. Mouse has been shut down quite heavily, and we haven't seen JDG try to attack him just yet. They haven't rotated clear up to the top side of the map. Yakar's made no movement. They're perfectly fine with allowing Zoom to go one-on-one against him.
Which is always going to be curious. It's a place that you can go towards. It's a place that you can attempt to exploit if you wanted to. Flawless being a little bit clear right there. But choosing not to, I think, is a sign of the new Jingdong. Again, all the focus towards the bottom lane, all the pressure being there, just clearing their lanes, farming up. Perhaps they have come to the realization that when you play against Rogue Warriors, they always make the first play. They always go forwards and they do the proactive movement, but it doesn't mean that the move is correct. It doesn't mean that it's the best decision. So if you are set up to either counterplay, disengage, or react better than they have acted, then you may just get yourself small gold leads that start to add up over time, and they don't feel this need to do anything currently.
And we've complimented Rogue Warriors for being that team that can get into the late game, but we don't always talk about how they're proactive early game. So like you mentioned, trying to make that first move. And teams have just not respected that. Now teams are starting to play around that, knowing that the first move might not be the right one.
Mid lane.
3 members from JD have moved mid lane. Cleared as well as Yakar, going to try and get chip damage in mid lane out of turret, already below half health.
Wow. That's what happens when Doinby constantly goes back to base, and Orianna does not need to. Has the tier as well, so extends the period with which Yagar was able to continue sitting in that lane. Doing very nicely here for the side of Jingdong. It's not a CS lead, so to speak, over Doinby. It's a couple of minions. But that damage onto the turret can make it easier. But if a single gank happens in mid lane, or if Doinby disappears one more time without setting up the wave first, tower's dead.
Almost makes it so that he is forced to stay in this lane unless something changes. He can't leave, he can't go back to base. So he can always take that objective if they choose to. The lanes are kind of shifting in favor of Rogue Warriors. Despite mid lane's pressure, bottom lane is now pushing in as Caitlyn Morgana. Top lane is starting to push in as Sion as well. Mouse is starting to rotate to see what he can get across the map.
And the thing is, this should never happen. Flawless should never get this off, but he is actively trying to find it.
He's charging. In behind the turret already. Doinby's going through. Shockwave is good. Connects us to both players. Ragnarok is used as well. And Rogue Warriors are really just trying to force so far in both their gank attempts in this match.
I have literally no idea what they're attempting for there. They walk up, they use the Ragnarok. Yagao is sitting on the bottom, so hang on bottom.
JD are going to go for the intersection. SMLZ in trouble. Ignite is ticking. Killua went to ward, and first blood's picked up by Loken in the bottom lane.
They just get the pick off. Killua goes walkabout, tries to place some vision down. Flawless now has to flash himself out. RW are collapsing.
And there you go. They're trying to collapse it towards Doinby. Heals being used. Has flash available. Clear's going to charge in. So does Zoom. Another kill being picked up by JD. In between 2 turrets. So Mouse is going to rotate. So does Killua. Zoom is the target right off the bat. Lumel jumping deep into the backlines. Low on health. He doesn't care at the moment. Gets a big shield as well. Using a stopwatch to stay alive on top of that. Mouse still charging forward. Good pillar. It's going to separate the tank for Rogue Warriors from the rest of JDG. They get that pick of the Doinby and they get out alive as well.
They actually get out clean. JD make the plays this time. They're the ones going forwards. They're pressing themselves upwards. They get the kills. They get out. Nobody dies. Rogue Warriors tried to mount a defense this time. They actually attempted to be in the area, but it was never going to work out in their favor. If you're using all of this stuff to go forwards in the first place, and it's the wrong decision to go forwards, your AD carry is dead, Summoner spells have been burnt in an attempt to save him, then you're at a disadvantage, even though it is at your mid lane inner turret. They just catch him out. Great pillars from Clit in particular.
It comes back to what you said, Rusty. Yes, Rogue Warriors are the ones that normally make those proactive early game plays, but the question is, are they going to be the right ones? Their top lane gank didn't work out. Their mid lane gank didn't work out. JDG, for the majority of the first 10 minutes, have been sitting back, relaxing, and playing a bit more patient, and it's rewarded them. They're going to pick in the bottom lane, and we get picks in the mid lane. Rogue Warriors are trying to respond with some pressure on the bottom lane turret. SMLZ and Killua are pushing in quite aggressively here.
Nice little spell shift from Kahlua to disengage, but the turret should fall eventually in this bottom lane. You're actually expecting Flawless and maybe even Doinby to come down to make sure that that happens. The blue buff is about to spawn, so the opportunity is there if it presents itself, and Flawless is just existing down here.
But Lumao goes for the initiation because there's a teleport right behind Rogue Warriors. Mouse is going to respond a little bit later though. So far, Loka takes too much damage. SMLZ is very low as well. Zoom going to try and find access to this fight. Doinby gets an ultimate off, only locks down Clear. Shockwave onto 3 members of Rogue Warriors. Yakar's now going forward with the rest of the team. Lumao trying to go for the re-initiation, but the tanky front line for Rogue Warriors is still there, deterring JDG from going any further forward.
They really want to keep this turret alive, Jingdong. The teleport was so early from Zoom to ensure that they don't get the play off, and now everything disengages but looks toward the Drake. Loken has no summoners, has no heal, does have the ultimate, so there's some utility available. And a lot of members were chunked out, but ultimately I think Rogue Warriors are a bit too healthy. This is a risk from JD.
Seems like they still want to go for the fight. Bottom lane outer turret is low for both teams, but JD can push this one back in. Try and chip away at the turret, potentially take it down.
Yeah, they've made the smart decision. They choose not to fight at the Drake. They bring Rogue Warriors to them. Don't let them set up with the Caitlyn traps. Instead, they force.
And there we go, Mouse charging in, gets a knock up onto one. Cleared. He's going to be able to take him down nice and low. Loka gets that first kill. Zoom responds with the ultimate. Doinby's in trouble. One more auto attack is enough. Clockwork wind up gets that kill. They trade back for one more, but they take down the Scion's dead body. 2-for-1 trade in favor of JD.
Yeah, Mouse just whacks at him whilst he was dead, and they get themselves the kill with Flawless. At the same time, though, JD, they win the trade. They get the turret. It's the first turret of the game, and now they get themselves a giant gold lead that they've amassed through this pressure that they have just been constantly exerting through their lanes and through smarter rotations than their opponents in this first game.
3,000 gold lead being picked up by JDG. They have been slightly proactive, but mostly reacting to the plays that are made by Rogue Warriors, and they've been botched time and time again. Again, the game doesn't matter too much for Rogue Warriors. They're locked in the second, but this is all on the line for JDG. And it's a reoccurring trend of Rogue Warriors slumping the last two matches. But let's take a look back force from Mouse in the last play.
It's a big force. It's a force that you may not be feeling comfortable taking if you're RW. I think Mouse just should not have used the ultimate in the first place. They were trying to defend the turret. They don't have everything up, and the fact that Zoom still has the ultimate causes this to be a very negative outcome. No one can actually join Mouse in the fight when Xayah has the ultimate, Ornn has the ultimate, slows down, zones them, threatens the knock-up, and no one's killing Loken.
As mentioned, gave them the gold lead, gave them that objective. They've also swapped AD carrying support to the top side of the map. So Rogue Warriors are going to be able to take down a turret for themselves. But JD, they're going to get another turret in top lane if they keep pushing, and a Rift Herald.
And to add the caveat, I don't actually think the Rogue Warriors are playing well. I do think that Jingdong are playing incredibly well in this game. I honestly believe that their performance so far has been super sound. The aggressive decisions that they've been making have been more calculated than some of the decisions they've made earlier on in this split. They've been impressing me so far in this first game. It's about, can they continue this through the mid game? Jingdong have always had an early game. It's what's next for them.
Can they close out the match? JDG, they're able to pick up another turret for themselves. Still 2-1 in turrets. They get the Rift Herald. They're going to reset the map. The mid lane outer turret for Rogue Warriors is already incredibly low, thanks to the pressure that JD were able to dish out whenever Doinby went back to base. We're trying to rotate for one of the ganks that we know him for.
Wave clear time for RW, however. With all the pressure that has been mounted by JD, they're the ones that need to convert this into something. With the Rift Herald now being secured by Clid, you would expect that he goes towards the mid lane outer turret, gets that last remaining outer, then they start to press forward with their vision control and secure the remnants of the map away from RW.
So there's going to be 3 members of JD that rotate into that mid lane. As well as Clid right behind them. Zoon's going to rotate in as well. They might not even need Rift Herald for this play because mid lane outer turret is going to fall. JD get 3 turrets to 1.
Doinby recalls, and they're going to keep going here. They've summoned the Herald after the turret goes down. It's going to get a charge off on the inner turret. W have grouped up for it.
Mouse is in the top lane with no teleport. Top of that, SMLZ is still rotating from the bottom lane. The charge comes through, gets a good chunk of the mid lane in the turret's health, but JDG don't push for anything more.
Flawless also gets a smite off. They try and chunk it out before it gets the charge. So it wasn't a full health charge, but nonetheless, it's some free damage. Clid just wants to use it as aggressively as he possibly can. Rogue Warriors respect that. They actually do group up for it, and they're able to mount a defense in this instance. But it is still about clearing the waves. They are far enough behind at this point, especially comparing their carries, that you're looking at SMLZ with a static shiv being rushed. He wants to just clear waves. Doinby's gone towards Abyssal Mask. He's got the tier stacking as well. He's scaling up to 2 items to 3 items, perhaps when he starts to become super relevant again. Whereas the opposing side, there's the Leandri's getting rushed out by Yagal. Wants to increase his constant damage over time, not just burst them out. It's the prolonged engages they're after.
They're going to try and charge into the bottom lane. Zoom wanting to dodge out away from Mouse. Clitter's going to try and join the fight. On, uses his ultimate, looking for it, collapses on towards Mouse, forced to flash away. Clitter uses his own ultimate to take away some resistance from Flawless. Just basically means that his summoner spell is going to be used by Rogue Warriors, who were the ones that went for the initiation there.
If they were looking to kill Zoom, then Clid's not allowed to be in the area. There is a 5,000 radius minimum distance that he has to be away from that fight, or it's not going to be successful. If a Trundle shows up and tries to influence what is 3 tanks just hitting each other, then one of them's no longer a tank, so the fight can completely turn around. The second Rogue Warriors see him, they get out of there. There's no way they're taking that fight. They've used everything to get Zoom in a position where his health is gone. With the ultimates burned, there's no follow-up to that fight. So good positioning, good awareness from Clid in particular to be there.
Making sure he can protect his top laner, who's currently in the bottom lane farming up against Rogue Warriors' tank of Mouse, playing Sign here. Both of them fairly even. It is a slight CS lead coming up soon though. In fact, it's a large CS lead now, 40 CS up over Mouse in the top lane.
Yeah, it's a lot of CS actually. He has found himself ahead. I think that this is a byproduct though of Rogue Warriors losing the whole map. Mouse is being one of those lanes where it was about 10 CS between them, but because everything started collapsing around him, he started to group up more and more. Zoom gets that extra wave every single time, and that adds up in the end to be quite a large amount, and it is continuing to grow.
JDG are going to do the right thing though. Still make sure they keep Zoom in the bottom lane where he has that advantage to match up against Mouse. We already talked about that CS lead that's growing to about 50 now. While they're trying to control the red buff on Rogue Warriors' side of the jungle. A minute till Baron spawns. SMLZ is currently in a power trough as well, only picking up that static shiv as well as BF sword. It's a good time for JDG to take the vision control over Rogue Warriors and control that side of the map before Baron spawns.
They're all grouping up in the mid lane. The horn is available from Zoom if he wants to sound it so they can pressure, but they're choosing, again, to play this one out just a little bit more slowly. They want the kills, they want the pick first. That's what they're really after. The Baron up in 30 seconds. It's an objective they could threaten for the vision control of. Now, when they actually try and do the Baron, it is done reasonably quickly when you have an Orianna with the 2 items available, Loken on the Xayah, and Clid in particular on that Trundle as well. He's able to contribute a lot of damage to taking down the buff, which means the Rogue Warriors have to respect that, which means they have to get vision in the area, and they have to constantly be grouping up around here. And that means that Jingdong, with the lead they currently have, can keep the lead as it is by forcing Rogue Warriors to group.
This is where the clash of styles really comes into play, because JDG, they have been in this position before. They've been in a position where they have this strength and they have that lead and they don't know how to close out the matches. Rogue Warriors traditionally have been in this position. Like you see, the last 2 matches at 20 minutes, they've been down 6,000 gold almost.
That's a lot.
Historically, they've been able to fight back from those gold deficits, but recently they have not. They've lost those matches.
They often, in this split at the very least, haven't been behind by that much at 20 minutes. They're used to getting early game leads. Their usual first roams are impactful, they're successful. But in this game, they were everything but. They went top lane, they lost both summoner spells from Doinby, he missed the ultimate, threw it, then flashed afterwards. They go for mid lane, they dive it needlessly when Yagao is smartly positioned near his own vision control. And this is continuing to happen. Leads continuing to mount and grow. And if their average gold deficit at 20 minutes is 6,000 gold, that's 1 team fight away from the game being lost on average.
Sunder's 6,000 in this match, but still 4,000 gold behind JDG. And JD do sneak an objective for themselves. Mountain Dragon's going to be picked up by Clid. They still maintain control of it towards the top side of the map. SMLZ has gone back to base, picked up an Infinity Edge for himself. He's not too far behind Loken when it comes to items, just missing his upgraded boots. But still waiting for Caitlyn to pick up 1 more Zeal-based item before her mid-game power trough is completely over.
Even just having the Zeal does wonders. The Berserker's Greaves may even help a lot as well, just having that extra movement speed available. Kiting out, or at least chasing forwards even, if they find themselves at a point of power. On the opposing side, the 2 items completed from Loken means that he is actually quite strong on the Xayah. And that excess range, and the Leandra is now done for Yagao. They've been waiting for these items for quite some time. The vision has been established for just as long as well. Now they are preparing themselves to pressure a little bit harder than they were before.
Still trying to take vision control away from the Baron area. And Rogue Warriors are trying to respond where they can, making sure they make it a bit tougher for JD to take control over the river. Still great wards being placed down. Even Mouse can't continually split push against Zoom at the moment. Has to stay close towards this Dragon Pit in case JD tried to start that.
It could be about getting a teleport advantage even though. Like, you know, keeping Mouse around in the area gives Zoom further leads, but if Rogue Warriors have 5 members around, they can try and get picks. They could actually perhaps even force the teleport out of Zoom, which does make the following 4 minutes to 5 minutes after that awkward for JD. They need to keep Zoom around, and so Mouse actually starts to catch up, and it's risk-reward type of stuff here from the side of RW by doing that. It's always possible that it works. It's also very possible that you're losing the game and you continue to lose harder from that. Your top laner becomes not tanky whatsoever.
Well, they rotate Mouse towards the pit. They clear out all the wards that were placed down in the river itself.
Put a lot themselves.
Put down some wards of their own, then send Mouse straight back down into bottom lane. He has a teleport available. And now guess whose turn it is to do the exact same duty. Zoom's going to rotate towards top side of the map.
Hell yeah, dude. The principle's the exact same though, so I'm not going to explain it again.
We can take a look at the gold. Mouse is slightly behind Zoom, about 1,500 in his favor. Jungle's fairly even. 500 is only what separates the two. Mid lane about 600 to 700 as well. Bottom lane is where the big advantage for JD is at the moment. Loken about 1,000 gold up over SMLZ. And SMLZ is the AD carry we look towards in Rogue Warriors to be the one that carries a lot of their matches. They used to build around it. There used to be supports after supports being thrown into the roster to make sure they can protect SMLZ.
Certainly the case, and it will continue to be the case in this game by the draft. Cassiopeia is very good at protecting an AD carry, using that ultimate, zoning away with the W as well, and grounding anyone that wants to dash towards them. The Morgana spell shield is always going to be very important and super impactful, especially against the engage of JD, which is primarily the Ornn from long ranges and then the Rakan from up close. Now, it's not the easiest thing to do to use a black shield on a Rakan flash engage because it's pretty much instantaneous. JD, they have actually kicked off this Baron.
It was spotted out. They started out right as that ward was placed out over the pit. So they know it's at 5,000 health. Teleport's being used by Mouse. JD can disengage and settle for a TP advantage. They do disengage.
Mouse
TP
is
gets
already
cancelled.
close though, so he may still get the ultimate off and be impactful in the fight.
JD are the ones to try and force the initiation. Zoom gets to knock him onto Morgana. Rakan looking to try and dive in, but Mouse gets a good initiation. Locks down Zoom. Rogue Warriors get a pick onto the tank of JD.
Fantastic pick, very well navigated from the Rogue Warriors roster. The teleport was forced out by JD, and they just wanted to disengage and back up, but they didn't actually know where Mouse was. Mouse is able to get the ultimate off. He's near the fight, and suddenly Rogue Warriors push forwards. They regain some control of the map. JD played it slow. They wanted power spikes, but they lost the one time they tried.
They get a pick. And they get a 3. They're only 3,000 gold behind JD at the moment, clawing back some of that gold deficit they were in. JD could have settled for that TP advantage. Decided to be a little bit too greedy there and force a fight.
Yeah, they definitely could have fully committed themselves to backing away, but it felt like they were caught between two options. They didn't know which one was realistically best. Now, once again, they continue to go back to this. Rogue Warriors, they don't have Kalua. They still have Mouse nearby. His ultimate is just about to come back off cooldown.
5,000 hit points. Olaf is close by. There's a blast cone available. Feather's going to be ripped back. Initiation comes out from Mouse. Locks down the AD carry of JD. Baron at 2,500 health. Still hitting JD's side of the map. Mouse in trouble. Forced to flash away, but Rogue Warriors get there in time. Stop JD from taking down the buff.
And that's still a big win from Rogue Warriors. Yes, there's no teleport from Mouse, but Zoom also has to go back to base, so the top laners are gone. The Shockwave was used. The Trundle has no ultimate. Xayah has no ultimate. That's actually pretty much just an overall victory from the side of RW as a result of JD once again forcing the Baron. It's always been a delicate snowflake for the Jingdong roster, the old Baron buff. Once again, it's giving avenues to Rogue Warriors in a game where maybe it shouldn't have.
By a lot of things on JD.com, but Baron buff apparently is not one of them at the moment. Rogue Warriors stopped them time and time again. As we mentioned, 3,000 gold behind JD, but this time they're the team that's being incredibly patient. They're waiting, they're farming, making sure they take back vision where they can, not afraid to use Mouse's teleport and cancel it as well, and rotate him into the right spot so we can still be in a position to fight if JD continue with their Baron attempts.
Yeah.
It has allowed SMLZ to bridge his mid-game power drop. He has those 3 items now. Rapid Fire can as well. Static Shiver picked up with his Infinity Edge. Still waiting on his boots, but he's okay sitting on the brown bags at the moment.
But that's fine. Horn's actually sounded the horn.
Looking for initiation. Knocks up Doimby. Rakan jumps in. Good counter flash coming out from Doimby. Gets himself back to safety.
Great respect flash from Doimby. He's actually still recalling JD. They force the summoner spell. They get back. Mouse has even rotated up towards defending this Baron one more time. And JD, they know they can't just start the Baron and bait the Baron anymore. They keep losing the trades for it. So this time, they push forwards. They press a bit further into Rogue Warriors jungle, and they try and find that opportunistic pick this time around, but they don't get it. It's actually just traded nicely. An incredible flash from Doinby to keep himself there.
Slowly, Rogue Warriors are getting closer to be even with gold. They're just waiting, buying their time. Zeke's has been picked up by Kahlua as well, further buffing up SMLZ. So none of the defensive items like we see from the locket that was picked up by Clid.
Here goes Rogue Warriors.
Now Rogue Warriors are the ones that want to try and take Baron for themselves. However, JD are close by. Mouse is going to look to try and see if he can go for initiation himself, but Clid's in so much trouble. Forced to flash away his blast cone. They're still fairly healthy. Ragnarok, he's going forward. Flawless does trade 1-for-1. Both junglers are going to be taken down.
Flawless decides that, you know what, I'm in, so I'm just going to stay in. Rogue Warriors don't have enough vision to secure the kill onto Clid. He's able to turn around and use the ultimate. And then they just chased him down like a true Ragnarok. Flawless commits, screaming Odin.
He'll be very happy in Valhalla at the moment.
I'm sure the gates will let him in after a play like that.
Died in combat, took down the enemy with him.
But it wasn't exactly the smartest decision. But he got the kill, so it's okay. It could have been worse if he didn't get it. It was super close.
Could have been really bad.
But they're okay. They are able to continue the game as it were equal. Even though it wasn't for quite some time. But to come back to the item points that you mentioned earlier, Fish, the 3 items for Caitlyn finally gets Rogue Warriors to a point where their team composition is able to be executed upon. Having the Caitlyn and the Cassiopeia to protect that, having the Morgana shield, now they can play the game plan that they always want to do, which is protect the SMLZ. Let him win entire team fights by himself, starting to outrange Loken effectively in team fights. Loken now needs to step forwards, and he is 3-0-1 himself, getting towards 3 items, but as it currently stands, the item advantage is actually with SMLZ.
Yeah, he gets the last whisper for himself, still yet to upgrade his boots. Doesn't really care at the moment.
You don't need those. They're coming to you.
And although Rogue Warriors are the team that are behind in gold, they're starting to look like a team that can start to pick these fights and dictate the control of this match. But they're still playing very patiently, still allowing JDG to take control of the river before they can rotate Mouse up, take it back for themselves.
Nothing's actually broken open in this game yet. It's been a tense past couple of minutes, each trying to make active attempts. It's all around this Baron buff, though. It does seem to be the deciding factor, but note that whilst the Dragon was just taken by Doinby solo with the blue buff, the next Dragon is an Eldar. And if nothing happens for the next 6 minutes, the dance ensues for all of that time. Well, now there's a second major objective to put some focus towards. And that's where the map starts to get torn and chaos can break out.
Let's bring it back to what this means for JD. We've already talked about it, how a win in this series puts them in playoffs. They must be feeling confident at the moment, because Rogue Warriors' recent form has not been looking good. They're ahead at the moment. They've been making the right plays. Yes, they've butchered some of them in the recent plays they've made, but it hasn't costed them too much. On top of that, they took down Suning, the e-commerce rivals, who had a 2-0 victory over Rogue Warriors earlier on. So they've been in this spot against Suning. They must be comfortable in this spot, but Rogue Warriors find that pick onto Clid. Getting him down low, but it's going to be Logan against the most. A big shockwave comes out. Double kill being picked up by the Zaya. Going forward, flushing on top of Doinby. Now SMLZ's the next target as well. It looked like Rogue Warriors had a pick on the jungle, and Clint stays alive, and it's 3 kills being picked up by JD.
Only the Caitlyn and the Scion are left alive. Mouse and SMLZ, they don't have the capabilities to step forwards here. They don't have the capabilities to walk towards the Baron buff, so it is just gone. And JD, they finally get what they're after. They get the team fights. They obliterate their opponents. The damage output was incredible, and that's what they needed. Finally, the Baron is secured. Finally, the capabilities of pushing out the rest of this game is in their hands. And this fight does start with a binding onto Clid, but watch Loken as well, because he is able to deal so much damage that he just decimates the health bars. The Shockwave, once again, hitting 3. Yagao showing that he is a very good Orianna player for himself. And the rest of the fight is just about cleaning up.
Just beautiful. Comboed perfectly by Zoom as well. He had a great Ornn ultimate, knocked up 3 members, but tagged 4 of them with the Brittle buff. And Yako hit all of them with his Shockwave.
Now 6-0-1.
Infinity Edge picked up, looking towards his Lord Dominic's regards as well, sitting on a QSS just in case. Unlike SMLZ, has his fully upgraded boots. He's going to be moving a bit faster, allowing him to flash forward and make those flashy plays like we just saw.
Hey, SMLZ's finished his last Whisper upgrade, okay? He still doesn't need those boots. Did you see him die in that last fight, Fish? No, he's a genius.
Okay.
Never gets caught out. There's still a high chance he gets caught out of position. It's a Ricard.
No summoners available for SMLC at the moment, and Ragnarok was just used by Flawless, trying not to get caught by 3 members of JD inside of his blue side of the jungle. They're going to rotate it down to the bottom lane, target this bottom lane in a turret.
Yeah.
Even Loken's on his way.
Once again, very smart from JD. The setup from Rogue Warriors is in the middle lane. They're able to get around that. They control mid, they push it in, then they rotate to bottom through their vision control. You can see it all on your minimap right now. The control wards just give them the easiest route possible between mid and bottom lane, and they're consistently utilizing that, looking for picks as they go.
The Desk was talking about Loken before this match. Artie was playing for so much the split when Loken wasn't performing so well. He comes back in the match against Suning.
Well,
gets caught out there by Doimbe. Doimbe, QSS counters your ultimate, my friend. JD just respond, protect Loken, and they get a pick for themselves.
And not near enough respect from Doimbe in this instance. He was trying to cheese, but the QSS was ready. He had the finger on the trigger. They're able to outplay Doimbe in his attempt to do something a little bit unexpected. But now they've got the pick. The Shockwave is down for quite some time, but it shouldn't matter when you've got a Baron buff and you can push in 4v5.
They already took down the bottom lane inner turret. They've got a cannon minion there as well, so JD, 5 members strong, dives straight in towards the inhibitor, even forcing Mouse to flash away from Rakan, who was looking to dive into the back lines. Inhibitor should fall here. No Doimbe alive, means they can continue charging forward. Ragnarok being used there. Very low on hit points. Can Zoom find it? No, he goes left, fakes it on towards the Olaf, tries for the rest of the back line. It will be SMLZ that gets a single kill for himself. Mouse is low, gets knocked into zombie form, has no one to pick up at the back of that 1-for-1 trade, but JD get the inhibitor.
Yeah, Mouse goes down. The inhib, most importantly, goes down with it. A chance to reset now for Jingdong. Look towards the remaining inhibitors on the map. 1 minute until the Elder Dragon spawns as well, so a great chance to go back to base, get your blue buffs, get your red buffs, and set yourself up for that Elder Dragon. They're playing this one out slowly, and you mentioned RD has been playing for quite some time. Well, I think the reason between choosing Loken here is that he has a mid game. He actually has a late game. He's not aggressive. Yes, it works with RD when Jingdong play aggressively for the early game, but this late game prowess that you see from Loken in team fighting, I think is what separates them by a substantial amount.
That makes sense against Rogue Warriors, who time and time again trying to attack that bottom lane. If JD are able to play as patient as they did from the early stage of this match, it could be their keys to victory in this entire series against Rogue Warriors. They're leading with a 6,500 gold lead. Baron buff has just expired. Elder Dragon, however, is coming up in 25 seconds. Very early Elder Dragon spawn.
It's pretty much on the money.
On the
As
dot.
you hit the 35 minutes, the Elder Dragon will be there. So, whilst Rogue Warriors took that Ocean Drake, they may be unhappy about that now. The game has completely shifted back against them. Almost too difficult to get in here.
Yeah.
Realistically, your Scion is top lane and the teleport is available, but they can just bring Ornn down. They are too far ahead. They have got the team fighting composition as well. They use that Shockwave, or at least the Boulder zone away, and these two are just going to take out the Elder Dragon.
JD have the vision control. Now Rogue Warriors can try and push forward. Yakov takes an ace in the hole, takes some damage from a Shockwave, connected to the 2 tanks. Zoom has the choke point. Ornn ultimate being used, but it just zones the team. Because JD were already able to get Elder Dragon down incredibly low. Picked up by them, they're now pushing towards mid lane.
Smart zoning from Yagao and follow-up from Zoom as well, ensuring that Flawless cannot get into the area. This Olaf is having a very bad day, and they continue to push forwards. No Baron buff, but they threaten the engage to push them off.
Ultimate being used by Luma there, forces the Black Shield onto SMLZ. He nets away. They're looking for a fight as well. A lot of Dragon buff, allowing them to deal a lot of damage, but Zoom, he's going to be the first casualty of this fight. Locked down. A lot of CC thrown his way. JD get a turret that forced it back off.
And we got a chance just there. We got a glimpse of what Rogue Warriors can do if their composition is enabled to shine. Have the Caitlyn and the Cassiopeia hitting the tanks and try and take out Zoom before Jingdong take out Mouse. It works to get one pick. It does disengage and forces their opponents to go back and play this one slowly around their waves. But a turret still went down. They still get themselves a monumental lead. They are very far ahead of their opponents. JD is set to succeed.
And that's all Rogue Warriors can do. Slow down JD at the moment. Baron's going to come up in a minute 30. You expect Elder Dragon to start to expire when that Baron spawns. But again, even though they get a pick for themselves, they don't get any objectives. They just slow down JD, reset the map, and they have to try and force a fight somewhere. Because they are 9,000 gold behind this team.
You know, one thing that Rogue Warriors are very good at doing is funneling farm onto their carries. Doinbe somehow finds himself 60 CS ahead when he had a losing lane, when he was using summoner spells in lane as well, very poorly I might add. But he still finds himself that far ahead. He still gets the farm, which means he gets the items. And if he gets the items, he's still relevant. They are surprisingly good at that.
He's technically even on items. Cassiopeia can't buy boots, but he's got a needlessly large rod in that place. So he's even when it comes to Yako in terms of items. SMLZ, he's close to 6 items himself. Yes, Loken has all of his, but he is 7-0-2 in Zion. Funneling farm quite well. And if the case is that Zoom falls faster than Mouse in a fight where JD have Baron buff, sorry, Elder Dragon, that's quite worrying for JD if Rogue Warriors can find the right fight.
Yeah, the major difference has to be Lumal this time. He can't just use the ultimate to zone away. He can't actually afford to do that. Not when the Shockwave was missing and not when Zoom's ultimate was missing as well. You need to actually respect that. As they miss.
That's everything. A petrifying gaze forward for Doiby. This might be the fight for Rogue Warriors. Lumao is very low. Loken left untouched. Gets the first kill. Clid somehow still alive. Sniped by SMLZ. Finds that pick for himself. 1-for-1 trade. Both junglers are going to fall, but the support for JD is very low. 90 caliber net trying to get closer, get some damage onto Zoom, but Rogue Warriors put up a fight once again.
Another defense mounted. It is so hard to close the distance to get to the Caitlyn. The flash was used, and with the Shockwave and with the Ricard ultimate missing to start off the fight, once again they're able to turn it around. Now they have moved to the Baron, and they take this incredibly fast.
That is so fast. No one's going to be able to get there in time. Cassiopeia is going to try and charge down. Baron gets taken. Lumao is very low. Lots of shields, but Doiby over the wall, flashes into the fight, forces Loco now. He gets 1 kill onto the support. They're chasing down Zoom as well. He's got no summoner spells to survive this one. Yako and Loco get out alive with Baron buff. But they might lose their bottom lane inhibitor if they don't get back in time.
The immediate recalls from Rogue Warriors. They know where they have to defend, and they're going to try and stop these minions from getting the inhibit. Looks like they will be successful, and that is still 2 members dead. No Baron buff on both of those. Jingdong get the objective. They get there quick enough, they do it fast enough, and their damage is so high that they are able to secure the objective. But you can't help but feel like after all of this, that spell shield was sick, by the way, from Kahlua. The timing to get it on a flash Ricard, wow. The rest of the fight, we will see this one through. It's just SMLZ able to freely hit for the most part. So from there you disengage, go to the Baron. But again, the defense that you're seeing, that's the 2nd time in a row. Rogue Warriors have been able to hold the base. No matter how far forward or aggressive Jingdong want to play, no matter how passive or slow they choose to take these fights, they have to engage at some stage. And if they're ready to spell shield like that from Kahlua, then they can save the fights.
But it's 2 missed fights in a row. That was the Rakan engage as well as a Shockwave being burnt, and Zoom missing the 2nd part of his ultimate. 3 crucial spells not connecting for JD in that fight. Whereas Rogue Warriors, they got everything. They got the Petrifying Gaze onto Miasma. They had SMLZ in the right position. SMLZ now at 6 items as well.
Yeah, and it was still only a trade, right? It wasn't a comprehensive victory from RW, and that is the state of the game. The advantage that Jingdong have is significantly higher than that of Rogue Warriors. It's the kind of fights where, once again, they need to play this next fight just as well as the last one.
We already talked about how mid lane and AD carries are fairly even. It's the jungle at the moment. That's the big item discrepancy. Yes, top lane, half an item from Mouse. He's a level behind. But Flawless is not level 16 yet. He's only got bits and pieces of his 3rd item minus boots. Whereas the support of cheaper items for Clid, which is buffing up Loken, have all been complete.
If both junglers are behind, Clid's item build is always preferenced. Especially just having the ultimate as Trundle. You would expect, and we mentioned this before, you would expect that if the tanks are going front to back and it's about who can kill the tanks first, then the team with the Trundle should always win. But it hasn't been the case the past couple of times.
Very difficult for Flawless to dive into back lines, but Clid takes away all of his resistances. Even for Mouse. Mouse tries to initiate a fight, he becomes very weak, and a 7-item Zaya is going to cut through any one of those tanks that's targeted by Trundle's ultimate. But it is a slight stalemate at the moment. And JD could just wait for the next Elder Dragon. They already picked up Elder Dragon number 1. We haven't seen it yet on the English broadcast. But 2nd Elder Dragon could be lights out for Rogue Warriors.
Jingdong can dream about it happening. It's always a possibility if this game continues. We're at 41 minutes into this game, and frankly, it was the kind of lead where maybe it should have been an earlier victory, and they've given opportunities over to RW to set up for this defense. The execution mechanically, as we've hit later into the game, has been very good, however, from our red side.
And it does go back to the contrast in playstyles. Rogue Warriors, despite the last 3 matches, have been good at holding off.
They're in on Mouse.
Jumping on towards Mouse. Flawless is here as well. Mouse taking a lot of damage, trying to charge away, but the pillar stops him. Zoom re-initiates as well. Loka gets that first kill, and that's the main tank of Rogue Warriors gone.
Very good pillar from Clid, ensuring they get themselves the pick. Now they push forward. You would expect at the minimum this will be 2 inhibs taken just before any objectives seem to be seen.
Baron buff is gone though, so Rogue Warriors can defend their Nexus quite effectively just from wave clear alone. Mouse is coming back up in 35 seconds. There are flanking teleport wards if Rogue Warriors could keep them here long enough.
That's one. Now you want the second one from JD. They still have 25 seconds. There are very deep teleport wards, you are correct. It's all about if a Morgana binding can actually hit in this instance. If they can push them away, it's because SMLZ chunks them out, but the only way you can is if they're bound.
There's no minions here. The minions are currently pushed in Rogue Warriors' favor. JD going to try and push for this inhibitor. It doesn't take reduced damage, but it's much difficult to access. They finally find access to it. They take it down. They go for an initiation as well. Shockwave is going to be good, but there is a Dark Shield there. Doimi gets taken out so quickly, though. SMLZ should be the next target. Mouse is going to come back up and alive. Everyone from JD is still here. Mouse going for the reinitiation. SMLZ stepping forward. Doesn't get the 90 caliber deck. Can't find access to Yakko. Got a nice big shield for himself on top of that with the Ceres Embrace. Lumel takes some damage as well. And Elder Dragon, 20 seconds. Second Elder Dragon for JD could be online.
And that was perfect from JD. They get in, they get the pick, and they get out alive. They don't choose to team fight. They don't choose to follow that one up and do something silly. Nothing foolish happens. They go to the Elder Dragon. And now they've established themselves with 30 seconds until the mid laner of Rogue Warriors is alive. The game plan is very obvious right now, and I don't know if Rogue Warriors can even get to the area. And to give away a second Elder Dragon is to lose the game.
Rusty, I've never seen this before. I have never seen a team take the second Elder Dragon since the buffs that have affected it. Rogue Warriors have given it up. How the heck do they defend now?
Are you asking me like a question, or they hope that a meteor hits the rift, right? And then all 10 of them die at the same time because they still respawn, it's perfectly fine, but it gets rid of the buff. That's it, a giant meteor.
Well, Flawless now is hoping that his sacrifice to Odin is granting him some favor, at least in the rest of this match. A big wave was pushed offside the back. Rogue Warriors got a turret for themselves, which doesn't matter too much 44 minutes into the game, but does delay JD the push on the final turret. You have to remember, Elder Dragon is a lot less of a duration than a Baron buff.
Not the second one.
Not the second one, that's correct.
The second one's 300 seconds.
300 seconds for Rogue Warriors to hold out and try and defend.
That's why they're playing this one a bit more slowly, doing the due diligence here. Both teams were. Rogue Warriors pushed out their side lanes the second the buff was secured, even beforehand, knowing that that's where they'd be. But it doesn't make this any easier. The super minions still barreling forwards. The waves do the job themselves.
JD aren't taking any chances either. They're slowly pushing top, and Baron's coming up in 35 seconds.
They certainly will look towards it. It's about as a comprehensive a victory as you can possibly have. 10,000 golden lead with a second Elder Dragon. They could just walk up to Rogue Warriors and team fight. I feel like that's their first and primary focus, but if the fight doesn't work...
On ultimate being used, collapses, only finds Killua. Teleport from Mouse, trying to get him to the top lane. Inhibitor still there. Mouse!
They want the engage.
Forcing a fight against second Elder. We also have Flawless trying to charge the back lines. Doimi looking for access. Lumel taking a lot of damage. How the heck are Rogue Warriors winning this fight to kick things off? JD just disengaged for now. Flash forward for Killua looking for it. Loka diving to the back lines. Now Lumel fancies his chances. SMLZ gets one kill, but Loka gets one of his own as well. Locking down two. That's going to be the triple being picked up there. On takes it away from Loka, but JD trade 3 for 2.
And they get the 3 kills, so now they have control. Super Minions about to push in mid lane and bot lane. This will be all 3 inhibs gone, and potentially the game to follow. Doinby and SMLZ have to put on a heroic effort to mount a defense here.
It's 2 on 4 for Rogue Warriors at the moment. And Super Minions are slowly crashing in. Second Elder is still alive. They still got half the buff to work with. They put on a massive defense, but it wasn't enough to this point. Doimi is still trying to fight his heart up, but it's not going to be there. Loka goes for reinitiation. SMLZ forced a flash away. He's the last man standing. JD have done it for game 1. They take a victory over Rogue Warriors, and they're one step closer to making it to playoffs.
With their destiny in their own hands, Jingdong are able to come up 1-0 so far in this best of 3. One more game victory, and they do push themselves into the 4th place in playoffs. And they do it by taking down Rogue Warriors if they can. That was not a clean RW performance, however. This is still not even close to the top that we know they can be at. SMLZ had a decent showing, though it doesn't show on his face.
Never does.
It was the rest of the map where things need to clean up a little bit more. Not that bottom lane. The side of Jingdong, it should be all smiles and elation so far, but don't get too excited. There's one more game to win.
Well, Rogue Warriors are able to hold out again. and wait and wait and wait and try to muster a defense. Doesn't work against JD, who again get a nice lead for themselves, but it takes a long time for JD to close out these games. They were 6,000 gold ahead, and Rogue Warriors almost fought back from it.
But they do get the Baron this time. They actually get the objectives. They have the mid game, and yes, they choose to play the game super slowly, but that doesn't mean they're playing it incorrectly. They just extend the game's duration. It was very clean, honestly, from them with how they're able to get that victory. It was enjoyable to watch because you know where they're going to go next, just because it does make sense. They take attempts, they look for opportunities, and if it doesn't work, they just disengage. They don't continue and lose fights comprehensively against their opponents. And Rogue Warriors are the place you have to look because they made the mistakes. They tried to be proactive, tried to go forwards. They make a mistake doing it. Everything comes back to haunt them with the counter engages and the follow-ups from Jingdong, and that's where the game was lost.
And with that, JD able to pick up game number 1 over Rogue Warriors. Let's send it back to the analyst desk to break down that game.
Whew, they actually did it. They were able to close out game 1, Raz. Jingdong 1 win away from advancing into playoffs, and Rogue Warriors after that set did not look particularly thrilled. I got a chance to take a look down and look at Loken behind me, and after the win, you could see he just, big sigh, sits back in his chair, takes a deep breath, because he's going to need to ride that momentum and close out the series and get into playoffs.
Yep, that was a rough one for both teams, I would say, because of how it went down to the line. It was a very, I'd say, tensions were high because Rogue Warriors did a good job at defending it, but the start of the game, or at least straight from pick ban, is where it felt like it was the most important.
Yeah, that pick ban is something that we absolutely have to talk about because, as we mentioned during the game, Jingdong, they had a clear idea with the strategy that they wanted to try to run. They picked for strong lanes. They were able to pick for eventual team fighting, but they played against Rogue Warriors, who are a late-game team fight team with a late-game team fight composition, and that is a risky gambit.
Yeah, but it was just rough because you saw the stat, or at least the graphic that came in within the game, that Rogue Warriors find themselves with a massive deficit.
6,000 gold at 20 minutes in their past 3 games.
Exactly. And at 10 minutes, they were getting chipped at in their own mid lane tower. So this draft, honestly, biggest criticisms of Rogue Warrior picking up the Cassiopeia. I would love to see an Azir, something that had longer range, just because Cassiopeia has a bad matchup into Orianna. They knew the Orianna pick came up. They picked the Cassiopeia into it just because they wanted the composition to be sound. The Miasma works very well for the Caitlyn to walk up. So in their team fights, Rogue Warriors is a team fighting team. They just need to get to that point. It was just really difficult for them because getting to that 10-minute mark, they were losing objectives, or at least they were getting a lot of losses on the map.
And that's sort of where we started to see the stumbles from Rogue Warriors. We've got some early skirmishes to show you how that early game went for Jingdong to start taking these advantages. I believe it was the fight bottom lane that provided the most initial momentum.
Yeah, it was because Jingdong forced Rogue Warriors to defend this bottom lane tower. There were 2 towers on the map, 2 outer turrets that were below 40% HP. If Rogue Warriors didn't move from Dragon to this point, they lose that tower for free. So Jingdong stood there, I would say, ground, chipping down that tower. Rogue Warriors were forced to pick a fight. They could have played a little bit more defensively or conceded, but they didn't want to. They saw an opportunity, and they lost because of that.
And from here, this is where we started to see Jingdong start to look a little befuddled. I mean, after that moment, of course, they were able to take the tier 1 turret. They rotated around, traded turrets with Rogue Warriors. There was a point where they had all 3 outer turrets down. Baron was on the map, and Jingdong knew what they want to do. They want to take the Baron. They want to try to break the base, but they don't have a pick composition. They didn't have a siege composition. They didn't have enough vision. And they weren't able to get that split push. Here's the fight where Rogue Warriors try to force it back, and you can see what happens when Jingdong gets the fight that they want.
Yes, because ultimately these are the fights that Jingdong wants to pick to get themselves into the game, and you are right. You're right in the sense that their only opportunity, if you're Jingdong, is to get this win, is to either pick up Baron, but Rogue Warriors are in the area and trying to look for a 50-50, or if you take the fight, but Miasma makes it incredibly difficult to go for a front-to-back fight, so then you're just stuck in a really bad position. That was a great opportunity for Jingdong just because it was Rogue Warriors running headfirst into the Trundle because of the Morgana binding. So that was the one mistake. Rogue Warriors made a good, at least did a good job playing defensively up until that point. And then that's when they start to falter.
And that said, with that Baron, they were finally able to start breaking the base. Even so, you could see how touch and go it was, because stepping up on a 6-item Caitlyn, stepping up on the Scion Cassiopeia, there was one time where Mouse stepped up, and immediately behind Mouse was Doinby, just huddling behind the giant robot, trying to fire out twin fangs without getting caught by any spray auto attacks. it was all down to the individual mechanics in these fights. Who overextends that little bit more? And Jingdong were so hesitant, so patient, and it will finally pay off in the last fight.
Yeah, here's the thing about that. This is when the patch notes come out big. Because you can defend, you can defend, you can defend.
Yeah,
you can try and look for your, the win in these team fights for
Yeah.
yourselves. But the second Elder Dragon, we haven't seen that in the LPL.
300 seconds.
But then it looks like Jingdong tried to force, because if they don't, look at the tower for themselves. They lose that tower, inhib behind that. Inhibitors are already down on the bot side, so they forced this because they felt like this was the opportunity. And they were looking good just because the Cassiopeia got a lot of good damage off on the tanks at the very least. But then the carry of Loken is still incredibly healthy, and he can start to walk up, and that's what really is key for the side of Jingdong.
Yeah, Loken absolutely stepping up in that last fight. You know, we've been talking about for Jingdong, who is going to take leadership, who is going to step up and be the shot caller, be the leader, be the driving force for the team. In the past series, it was Loken. In this game here, it's Loken again.
Yep, highest kill participation going into this game, and he only buffs that number up with 94% because he was the man to watch.
Yeah.
So Jingdong, we were wondering what kind of style they were going to show today, but it's completely centered around that bottom lane.
Yeah, and again, Rogue Warriors, they decide who ends up in their bracket here. Of course, with Rogue Warriors in second place, the fourth place spot is between Jingdong and Suning. They will be playing against third place from the other side, but they can choose, of course, they don't obviously want to choose. They want to win the series, but their play in this series determines who their opponents could be later down the line. So obviously, they want to beat Rogue Warriors because Suning didn't look that great. And if you beat Rogue Warriors, if you beat Jingdong, who beat Suning by proxy, you beat. You
beat them both.
You lost me. Yeah, you beat them both. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just waiting to see
A,
what
therefore
your mind
B,
would come out
therefore
of that
C.
one.
It's logic.
But ultimately, if you're Rogue Warriors, regardless of that logic, they want to be able to take this victory because they're still looking really poor up in this last run to playoffs. And looking at that last game, it's not looking good. You have to change up the strategy, and this is the next opportunity.
Yeah, especially when you compare it with the likes of Snake, who showed they've got another gear that they can kick it into going into playoffs. So we'll see if Rogue Warriors can recover. We're going to go and take a quick break while we get ready for that Game 2 between Jingdong and Rogue Warriors.